All right, guys, welcome. Happy Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. Time is flying by. I remember when it was 1986. Those were good times. All right, guys, welcome. Happy Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. Now we're getting some reverb. All right, that's fixed.
I lived in Boca Raton in 1985.
You were born in 1985?
No, I lived in Boca Raton in 1985.
Oh, Boca. Nice. Yeah, I was probably
Yeah,
at the Boca Hotel and Club in 1985 for the first time. My first
that
little
that's
trip.
it. Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah. There's an old saying that if there's a car accident in Boca Raton, chances are it's two Rolls Royces hitting each other. A lot of money down there. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right, guys, we're going to go over XRP, Bitcoin, the overall crypto market in general here, and what I'm seeing on the charts. We had a nice little pump over the last 3 days, and looks like we got some consolidation and pullback happening. Let me just share my screen here. Matt says I was born in 1986. Shannon, 6 was a great year. Day 7 of 75 hard for me. Good job, Matt. Keep it up. Jonah's note taker says this meeting will not be recorded. Yes, it will. Your note taker is wrong. I was 9 years old. All right. Welcome. So most of us were on this planet at that time. We do have some young ones in here. It's funny because when people are born in the 90s, they're over 30 years old. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't seem like that long ago. All right. I just closed out my long position from the other day. I was going to post it in here, but I figured I'd just tell you right now. It was from way back here on the 22nd when I went long XRP and Bitcoin. I think it was the 22nd. So I've been in that position for a while from $1.89, I believe it was, or is it right here? XRP $1.92 entry. And I did increase contracts along the way. I closed that position out. As you can see here, 849 XRP, 109%, and a couple little smaller ones closed out as well. And I just re-entered long again. Now, that doesn't mean we can't drop below this level, but I did want to take profit because I am trading on an XRP margin and I'm trying to accumulate more XRP. And just in case it was about to drop through this level, I'll show you what this level is. This is, let me just zoom out a little bit. This is a nice, this is when we had that big drop down on the 10th, and we came right back up and held support here. This is where we held support, and then we dropped down a little bit. So let me just go down this. That was that line right there, that wick. After the big drop, we came back up and we held support. We wicked down to here, but we held support, wicked down, hit support here, wicked again down, all the way down to this line, came back up, hit this line again, support, broke through, came back up, a lot of support and resistance at this line. That is the line we are holding above right now. And we need to because In fact, it'd probably be easier if I get rid of all of this stuff and start over. Let me just show you where we came from here. We pretty much dropped down this whole top from the top. We had a couple moments when we broke above this level and came back below. And this was a nice falling wedge. We came all the way down, very similar to the last time this happened on XRP. We had a nice falling wedge back here. This is where we dipped all the way down to these levels. So this was the floor. I'm just gonna redo this and a little cleaner so we can see it. So this down here was pretty much the floor from, with a couple occasions where we went below that. One here where the big drop was on October 10th, and one here where we went down a little to 160. But the floor has been the floor since December of 2024, and we hit it. This is where we had a little 1, 2, 3 before we went up to the top, and then I'm going to make the top up here. This is pretty much the ceiling level. Jeez. So as we bounce out of here, as we break out of this downward trending resistance, we had a couple, I'm going to go to the lower time frame so you can see it better. We had a couple resistance levels along the way. We had this one, which is this red line, which is the bottom of the top of the floor, rather, where we hit it, went through resistance, support, resistance. We hit that on the way up, broke through and went to the next level. Right here, not only did we hit that as resistance, we retested it, held support before we pumped up. Let's bring that over here. What is this one? As you can see, we had resistance here. We had support and resistance. And if we just take this all the way over, we had resistance, support, and more support going all the way back. If I go back even further, way back to way over here, you'll see that it has been support, some resistance, and support right there, right here. I know some of you might look at this and say, well, yeah, but it went through. Support went through, didn't hold underneath. Came back up, support, went through, came back up, resistance, went through, support. So sometimes just because it wicks through doesn't mean it's changed. It's still a support resistance line. So, but if we go all the way back to the current spot where we're at, that was this one here. And then another one above that. We've had several resistance levels where we hit resistance and we come back down for support. That was resistance, some support, resistance, support. All of these lines can be traced back to history. Always just look to the left. Now, when we pumped out, when we broke out of this, we went up. Okay, what did we hit up here? Let's just put a line there. Not at the top of the wicks, but at the top of the candles. That's what I do. And then I go back to the left. What is this? Why? We have, it's because we have a lot of wicks, but support, resistance, support, breakthrough, resistance, breakthrough, support, breakthrough, a little resistance, and then we're down. So we came up to this level. This is a nice level up here. And if I do move it to the top of the wicks, watch this. If I just move that to the top of the wicks, you'll see it was exactly to the top of the wicks. So that's okay. Now, on the way back down, we stopped right here. We bounced and retested. We come back below, And then we come back up and retest. Boom, boom, retest, breakthrough, retest this support as resistance. Then we drop. We stop, we hit here, we bounce back up to retest, and we come down and hit and go through. And now we're retesting this. So now we're retesting previous support on the way down as resistance. It's so easy to see when when it's explained like this. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about.
So are those considered like drop levels because they're retracing each other? They're dropping, come back up, dropping down, come back up.
Yeah,
Or because,
yeah. And we have another one coming right here. So it's possible that we bounce here. I mean, we actually might have if I put that there, but that doesn't really line with that one. So I'm just going to say that it could go down a little further here. Maybe a little bit higher right there. So if this is true, retracement back to its pump origin, meaning this whole pump that we had from the, I would say the Bitcoin expiry of last Friday, not this past, was it this past Friday or the week or the Friday before? I can't remember. That's what caused all this, in my opinion. Of course, we had the Venezuela, we have all these things happening, but let's go look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, very similarly, pumped all the way up to a certain level, broke the upward trending support line and retested. And then now it's dropping to where? Well, probably right to about where it's at, somewhere here. We have a wick there, resistance, support. All right, my cat is making noises today. So not super strong on the bullishness. We did say that it was going to come up probably close to the max pain area of 96K back, and it wasn't that long ago. I was talking about this whole thing right here. This was on December 26th, BTC option expiry today. The fallout will be over the coming few days. Max pain at 96K, meaning the market makers would make more money if they pump BTC to 96K. I mean, guys, did we call that or what? It went, it went to 95. Let's just see, where did it go? It went to 94.7 so far. Could it go higher? I mean, that was a nice pump up to that level. I also said XRP, if it goes down to $1.65, the market makers will make more money if they push the price up. My prediction is XRP to about 205. Now, XRP went up to 230, went up a lot higher than I expected, but it also looks like a little decorrelation happening. It looks like a lot more things happen for XRP as far as volume and as far as percentage gain from the bottom than it did for Bitcoin, because in addition to the expiry, in addition to correlating with Bitcoin, in addition to everything pumping with Bitcoin pumping, XRP also had a lot of other good news. Multi-billion-dollar contracts, ETFs pumping billions of dollars liquidity, leaving certain exchanges to the tune of like 1% of the entire XRP available liquidity pool. Ridiculous amounts of money coming into XRP ETFs right now. And a lot of people are like, well, why isn't the price shooting up? Why aren't we at $20 for XRP? And I think we've explained that a few times. Most of the XRP available, not most of it is available on the retail ledgers there, but there's still about 30 billion that are on OTC. That's where they're buying it from. Very similar to when Bitcoin had all of its ETFs go live back when Bitcoin was about 73K. The price did not go higher. The price went lower for about 270 days until they finally ran out of Grayscale's money to buy Bitcoin from, and then the market pumped. And so I'm expecting the same thing here with XRP. As far as Bitcoin goes, we are either, I'm going to show you something. We are either at the beginning of the end of a bull market, or this is going to be a different thing happening here. But as you can see on the weekly, we are still far below the EMA ribbons on the weekly. Let me go to the daily. The daily, we did flip the EMA ribbons bearish back here in October. We've been under it this whole time. And remember what I said, we need to get above it and hold above it. And we are above it. We went above it all the way up to 95K almost. And I mean, if you go watch the last couple of calls, guys, I pretty much said this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to go above it and we need to hold above it. Otherwise, it's going to come back down. And if we come back through this and flip it again, negative or bearish, then that could be the beginning of the end. But let's look what happened here on the actual RSIs. So on the regular RSI, on the weekly, we are coming up to the floor. We haven't quite made it above it yet. As you can see, whenever we get to this level, let me just pull this up so you can see what it looks like on the price of Bitcoin. Let's just go to the last bull market so you can see it. Whenever we get below the floor here, I mean, when we drop from the all-time high of 65K all the way down to 29K, that was a 55% drop from the top to that. And then we came back up for a double top at 68K. When that happened, we dropped right down to the floor and we did go a little bit below it, but then we bounced back up. And even though we made a slightly higher high here at 68K, they call it a double top because it did not close above the previous high. Right here, you can see it wicked above it, but it didn't hold above it and just fell right back below. But look what happened when it fell back below down to 33K. We had a lower high here and we dropped below the floor. And we come down to here. And this is kind of like where we're at right now. This one last rally where it came up to the bottom of the floor and then it broke through. And what happened there was another lower high right here. We had a high, a lower high, lower high. This is called bearish divergence. We had a high right here. We had the high, which was at 41K. Then we had a higher high, and then we had a little bit of a higher high. So we had higher price and lower tops on the RSI, which is bearish divergence. We did get above the floor. We got above the yellow line, which is the moving average, and all we did was make another higher high. But look what happened with the price. This was a falling wedge, very similar to what we have right now. Where we broke through and retested previous support. We broke out. Okay. Very similar to what we have right now. We broke out and we pumped. This one on the weekly got above the EMA ribbons and didn't hold and then fell back below. And that was the beginning of the bear market. This one came up, hit that line and fell. I have it circled. Because that's what I think might happen. Hasn't yet. But I have a feeling we're going to pop above this and maybe make one more run for it, which is the run we're in right now, which is the breakout we just had. But as you can see, it did not get any higher yet. On the weekly, it's wicking up to the bottom of the EMA. Let's go to the daily. The cat just scared the hell out of me. Over here. You can say hi to everybody. So on the daily, guys, we did hit that. I mean, that's what just happened. We basically came up and hit it. Again, now I look at this on the weekly more than the daily, but on the daily, we did come way down from here and we did come up to the top of that. And as you can see, it wicked up right there and came back below, just like this, just like all of these other ones. See the price going up from 71K to 104 to 108, 108, 109, 112, 123, 124, 126, higher, lower highs, bearish divergence. Generally speaking, bearish divergence means that the top is in. but we only have a couple times that this has ever happened as an example. Now, we've been in bearish divergence in the stock market for years, for a decade at a time, before the end, before it was around the end. So it's very hard to compare it. But when it comes to Bitcoin, it's only happened twice in Bitcoin's history. When there was bearish divergence, it usually meant that the top was in. Now, I'm not saying the top is in because this time could be different. I've told you guys that because of all the things happening around the world and because of the Clarity Act getting ready to pass, because of Venezuelan oil, because of Epstein. I mean, you can name all the catalysts. There's 100 of them, because of the Genius Act, because of the crypto-friendly government and all of the finances and the financial markets going over to blockchain technology, that this time could be different. But here's what would have to happen. And we would need to see on the weekly time frame this come above the floor, which it looks like it's trying. And here's how we know it's trying is because look at the stochastic RSI right here. We have a blue line cross the orange line to the upside. It crossed, came back below, crossed again. And the blue line is about to cross this dotted line, which is the 20 on the RSI. And the yellow and the orange line is following. Once the orange line gets above, then I'm expecting this, another one of these. Now just look at every time this has happened so far throughout history. This is the weekly time frame. It only happens twice a year. So this was in April 2025. This was in September 2024. And when I say a year, I don't mean like a calendar year. I mean in a 12-month period. It only happens twice. And this is the second time that it might be happening here. So every time though, let's just look. Every time we got below and came back above, we had a big pump to the upside. Below, come back above, big pump to the upside. Below, come back above, big pump to the upside. Below, come back above, big pump to the upside. And it's trying, it's almost there. The blue line needs to cross that dotted line and the orange line needs to follow. And it is possible for it to do one of these where it comes up and then crosses back down. As you can see, it did go up when that happened, but it also came back down to a lower low. But this example right here is the Bitcoin ETFs right here when they got approved. 13 of the largest hedge funds in the world got approved right here, and the price went down for 280 days, about 7 months before we finally broke out. So that's over. We don't have Bitcoin ETFs. In fact, this time we have money flowing out of the Bitcoin ETFs because they've taken profit because it pumped from here all the way to here, and they're moving it into other ETFs like XRP and Ethereum and Solana ETFs. But we do have a nice breakout of a downward trending falling wedge, which is bullish. And we are coming up to the EMA ribbon. And we are coming up to the dotted line on the RSI. And on the regular RSI, we are coming up from down here. We did not get below this, which is good. That is generally bear market territory. We did not get that low. We are coming back up. And we are close to maybe crossing back over the moving average. If we do, then we're going to see maybe another run for this thing. This downward trending resistance, and that could bring us up to, the 105, the 100 to 105 range. 100 would be $100,000 Bitcoin would be just getting above the EMA ribbon on the week, just getting above it right here. 105 would be a little bit higher, and it would look very similar to this. You see how the EMA ribbon is squeezing, getting tighter and smaller and smaller and smaller as the price comes up, and then boom, it crosses it. And then it falls back below, and that is the beginning of the bear market. And this happens in January, like it is right now. So why? Because the 3-year bull market cycle usually ends December 31st. And as soon as we switch over to, if I go to the 12-month time frame, I'm going to show you guys this one more time. As soon as we switch over, then January starts. That's this green candle right here. And it usually does go up throughout history. This is it. This is the same candle right here in January. It does go up a little bit. You see that wick at the top? This is it right here, January of 2018. You can look down below, see the date right here, January 2018. January 2022. This one went up quite a bit, but it never got higher than this. This one went up a little bit, but it never got higher than this. This candle goes up, this wick goes all the way up to there. This wick all the way up to here at 126. So this one could go up to 100, 105 if it correlates with the previous bull market cycles, because everyone in the past went up in January. Look at this one. This was January 2014. Went up, but it didn't get higher than this. So if we're going to look at it, if we're going to look at history, we have to conclude that so far this candle does turn green and goes up, but so far throughout history, it has never gotten higher than the previous 12-month candle. And that usually is the beginning of a bear market, if this is a normal bull and bear market cycle. There is one thing different this time on the 12-month time frame that has never happened before, and that is the bull market candle, the 12-month candle prior to January's candle has always finished green. Green, 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 right? The last three bull market cycles. This one finished red. That's different. That's not normal, right? And now our January candle is green, but they've all turned green. They were all green before they went back red. This one went green. As soon as it gets higher than where this candle closes, it's green. But then it comes back down and turns red. So is this candle going to stay green and make a new high? And is this time going to be different than it's ever been because of this change? And because we are seeing renewed energy, we are seeing renewed laws being passed, clarity acts coming to fruition, unanimous on both sides. This is not a Democrat Republican thing. This is Congress and the House and the Senate all agreeing on crypto. And the Clarity Act is I think the Clarity Act was already passed, back in like April, and now they had to go to a final decision or something, and it was supposed to happen around the time when the government shut down, and that got kicked to the new year. So here we are. We got another week maybe until that happens, and let's go down back to the week. Let's go to the monthly time frame. Let's look at something here, because on the monthly we got some interesting things happening as well. On the monthly, we are bouncing on the top of the EMA ribbon, which we need to stay above. And that was the breakout. But for accuracy, I like to look at the weekly, really, because whenever we get below that on the weekly, it has historically been the bear market. Every time. And we did get below it. We are below it. But it does have a chance to pop back above it. And you can see down here, when we got below it, we did pop back above it here. This is back in 2018. And you can see back here, when we got below it right here, we did wick back above it, but that was it. We came right back down, and that was the bear market. So I'm not saying, guys, I know I have to be careful what I say, because I'm not saying that this time is different and we're just going to shoot to the moon and we're going to have a parabolic move to the upside, and now we're going to get a God candle, and now we're going to have a super cycle. People have been talking about super cycles for a decade now, and I'm waiting to see one. But all I can really go by is what history has already been showing us, and that's kind of what technical analysis is. It's looking at patterns, and the pattern is that if the pattern is looking very similar to the previous. Not only do we have bearish divergence on the RSI, but we're below the EMA ribbon, and we are breaking out of a downward trending falling wedge. Everything's looking very similar to this last bull market. Not only did we have, like I said, bearish divergence on the RSI, we had longer bearish divergence here. We had 3 touch points, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 higher highs. This one had 3, 1, 2, 3. This one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touch points, lower highs. This one had 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a few more touch points here, a little bit longer bearish divergence leading into January. And this one, the only real difference here is this breakout. It went up from its low of 32,000 all the way up to 49,000 and just got above the EMA ribbon and couldn't hold and came back down. So we are, and look how tight the EMA ribbon's getting right now, guys. Look how squeezed it's getting. It looks like we could pop up a little higher. I know that there's some shorts. I know there's some shorts out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you know what you're doing, you know how to scout those quick moves to the downside. After this big pump, we went up to what 94.7, and now we dropped all the way down to 91.6. That was an awesome short, but I don't think it's over yet, personally. And if I go down to the lower time frame, even lower, down to the 1 hour, I mean, we still definitely broke out of this overall downward trending falling wedge. From the all-time high here. And we retested and held and made higher highs. So what are we coming up to here? Why did we stop at 94.5? Well, it's kind of obvious when you just look at the previous resistance and support. When we were falling from up here, we hit support here and we hit the bottom and retested and retested and retested before coming down. And we did not make a lower low after that. So what does that mean? Well, let's just take this line and draw it. It is upward trending, coming into possibly a rising wedge apex type of situation. Depending on where you want to put this candle, but I put it usually at the bottom of you can put it at the bottom of the wicks if you want. It doesn't matter. You can put it at the bottom of the candles, but the floor is getting higher and higher and higher. The ceiling staying horizontal. If we break above this, we would need to hold support. So there is a possibility that we break above, get up to 96, get up to 100, 101, even 105. But where would we hit next resistance? Right there. Why? It's major support and resistance going all the way back right to this level right here, where we wicked down from 122 all the way to 105. That was a giant dump right there. You remember that? That was October 10th. That was the big liquidation event. That was the major support, and that turned into a support for a while, all the way to November, a month almost of support before breaking through and retesting as resistance. And that is the next resistance level if we break to the upside. Now, if we cannot get above that and we just have to retest that one more time on this breakout before going into a bear market, that would be what would happen. And then it would look like this. Okay. Let me just get rid of some of these other things here so you can see this clearly, but this major drop that we were just talking about is also previous resistance back here when we came up for the first time. These were all-time highs back here back in December of 2024, where we hit 108 and 109 respectively, and then fell into the falling wedge where we had a very similar breakout that we have right now. Very similar. This all looks almost identical. If you look at this falling wedge, we wick down and hit previous support, our previous resistance as support right there, which was right here. Boom. And we're breaking out right now again. So this would be the real telltale sign right here, guys. I would say that this would be it. It's either going to be a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder, giant head and shoulder before we're going into a bear market, or we break, and this time is different. If this time is different, then we're going to get above this level and hold, and then maybe reach for another high. If we can do that, if we can get back up to the 126, the high, the all-time high right up here, we can do that. I'm not saying we're going to, because that would make this time different. And So far throughout history, this time has never, it's never been different than what the charts are saying. But if we did, then bearish divergence is over. And that would look like this. Just giving you the whole play-by-play. That would mean this would happen. Whereas we come up, we break through, this goes all the way up to the top, like it needs to do. But instead of this just coming up to this little circle right here and then doing the same thing and having another lower low, it would literally break out and have a higher high, higher low rather than this one. I'm sorry. Higher high than this one. We have lower highs. It would need to break above that and have a higher high. If that were to happen, then we could have a super cycle. Yes, then we could shoot up to 150, 160, 170. And then that would make the 12-month chart that I showed you, where every single bull market cycle, the candle starting in January never gets higher than the candle ending in December. That would change all of that. This time would be different. All of that would be over. We wouldn't be able to say that anymore. And this time would be different. And the only thing that makes me think it's possible is because that December candle ended red for the first time in history, in Bitcoin's history. And so, but all these other things are looking bullish. So we do see the stochastic RSI coming back up in to cross this. We do have 4 days and 7 hours left to see if we break above the floor here and if we break above that dotted line here. 4 days and 7 hours on the weekly time frame. You can see it over here. Right? So yes, go ahead.
So when it topped out at 126 and it dropped to the where it's, wherever the lowest part is, 90, whatever it is, what percentage of that could that have been like the bear run from that one, or the bear market?
Well, that it could be. Let's just look at it. That was a 35% drop from the top, almost 36% from the top.
But usually
down
it's
to
70
80.
though, right? Usually it's like 70 though with the bull market.
Bear markets are usually 70, 80% drop. So that would be half. Everyone so far from the top to the bottom was 77, 80% from the top to the bottom, from the top to the bottom. So right now we've already dropped 40%, 35%. So it would, if we do go into a bear market, it would only be an additional 30% down, which would probably bring us down into the, it would be far, don't get me wrong. That would bring us down to, the 30, 40K range. Now, if anybody doesn't think that's possible, let's just look at history. We were at 68K. We went all the way to 15.5. What's twice as much as 60K? 126. What's twice as much as 15.5? 30. I mean, could it? Sure. But it could also just come down to previous all-time highs, which would be at 61K, just like it did last bull market. The last bull market, we went up to 68K and we dropped down to 15.5, which was pretty much the top of the previous bull market. And if that happens, that would be technically a 50% drop. And that is certainly possible, because we could have not only depreciating returns. In other words, the bull markets are less and less and less. Back here, we had maybe, a 1000x pump. Then we had a 100x. Then we had a 40x. And then we had a 20x. And then we had a 8x. So it's diminishing returns. The bull markets from the bottom to the top are the ROI percentage is getting less and less and less by huge factors. And so our bear markets could also do the same thing. So instead of a 60, 70%, 80% drop to the downside, it could just be half of that, 40, 50%. Or we may not have any bear market. We could just pump right out of this, break out. This is what I was saying. This could be different. This would have to happen down here. This would have to come all the way up, and then this would break about above this downward trending resistance line on the RSI, and it would no longer be a lower high. If it does hit here and just turns and comes back down, well, then it's just a continuation of bearish divergence, and that would probably be the beginning of the end if you want to look at it as a timeline. Historically, this January going into February, March, April would be what normally would be the bear market historically. Now, could we see some fallout from all the crap going on around the world? Do you think that Trump extracting the Venezuelan leader just solves all the problems and that's it? Or are we going to have like oil embargoes? Are we going to have all kinds of crazy stuff happening? We're going to have China and Russia fighting over oil. Are we going to have oil prices spike or go lower? He's talking about taking all the oil and then splitting it with Venezuela and making it fair for Venezuela to recover. Who's going to be put back into office there? It looks like we're in control of Venezuela right now. A couple of our politicians. So I know that doesn't look good to some people. Maybe they think it was an unnecessary thing to happen, but if people really knew all of the things that were going on behind the scenes and the reasons for everything, they probably wouldn't say what they say sometimes. It was just a matter of time before Cuba, Russia, and China took control of the oil in Venezuela, which is the largest oil reserve in the world. They were all moving in on it. It had to be done. Not only that, it killed two birds with one stone, actually three or four. The first bird is freeing the Venezuelan people from the tyrannical dictatorship regime, squashing the drug cartels in their tracks. Instead of declaring war on drugs like Clinton did and Biden and all this stuff, the war on drugs was the biggest bullshit. The Bushes, he actually just says we don't need to declare war; we'll just kill them. Now, when people hear him talk like that, they think he's crazy. But the reality is that he's the only one really solving the problems of the world. And regardless of whether he's a Zionist, regardless of whether he's in bed with the Israelis or whatever, one thing that Trump is doing that it's hard to deny is he's exposing all the dark evil around the world. He's exposing it. So if he's a catalyst for that, great. Whatever happens because of that is a different story, but he's in there for a reason, and he isn't sweeping things on the world. He's creating enemies, but the enemies he's creating are the bad people, most of them. Now, there's going to be some people that say, well, yeah, but Israel's pulling the strings and he's their puppet and all that stuff. But I'm not so sure yet, but I do know that it seems like all of these things that happen are for a reason. And there's one more thing that people aren't talking about, and that is the Dominion voting machines. And the Dominion, the one that lost Trump the election against Biden the last time where he lost. And by the way, impossible, guys, that he lost legitimately. Biden had more votes than Trump, Obama, and Clinton, and George Bush. How is that possible? How is that possible? Is it that people just hated Trump so much? No, because Trump was elected again a second time. The same amount of people voted, the people that wanted him in there, and his numbers blew Biden away. The reason why is because it was fraud. It was election fraud. And the Dominion voting booths, guys, if you really know what's going on, they were in Georgia. They were in everywhere. You remember the big thing about Georgia and some of these states that North Carolina and some of these states that were recounted and that favored Biden. President Trump at the time was having these events all over the country and 30,000 packed arenas, 30,000 people, 50,000 people showing up, 100,000 people showing up. Biden would go speak somewhere and 26 people showed up, all on his staff. I mean, and Biden won. Didn't make sense. But I'm not going to get political. I don't really care. But here's the thing. Those Dominion voting machines and the whole development of the Dominion software and the voting machines is stored, housed, and created in Venezuela. And that was probably another reason to take over, so he can get those machines to prove that they rigged the election. So when all of this starts to come out, it is chaos, guys. It is total chaos, but I think it's very entertaining. It doesn't, I love to see it. I like to see the fraud exposed. I like to see all these idiots. When you look at what happened in Minnesota with the guy that would have been the vice president had Kamala won, with all the fraud with the Somalians and all the things going on in Minnesota. And that's just one state. Wait till they uncover that in all the other states. And so when you see this all coming about, you know, people get panicked. Markets do tend to suffer a little bit in the short term until the smoke clears. People run and hide. They scatter. They're like, oh my God, I don't know. This is crazy. What's going to happen? And they're always worried about the fallout. And that's why markets plunge and stock markets crash and things like that. And then they're like, well, Trump promised that we'd have a better economy. He promised gas prices would be low. He promised all these things. He's not living up to his promise. When people don't realize it takes years for all of that to clear, for all the things that he's doing to actually come to fruition. They're expecting immediate results as soon as he takes office, which it just proves that the majority of the people that are making these dumb statements have never ran a business before. They don't understand how things work. But with all that being said, whether you agree or disagree with me, you don't have to agree with me, by the way, that there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. Then, on top of all that, you got the world's financial institutions, the hedge funds, the banks, tens of thousands of banks around the world switching over to blockchain technology and digital currency, stable coins, all this stuff. It's all switching. It's all happening. It's all in the process. Could these things be look over here, you know, wag the dog situations where you look over here while we do this over here? Yes, of course. It could be a big switch flipped, and all of a sudden, no one will even be the wiser. All of a sudden, the United States debt is no longer. Taxes, income tax goes away. The tariffs cover that. And, you know, all these things are going to change very quickly. You watch what happens. Trump was just speaking the other day of how he wants to get rid of the IRS, get rid of the income tax. Oh, we might keep them around for just for fun, he says, for certain things, but not income. Is that going to happen during his presidency? I hope. That would be nice. But no other president has ever talked like this. He will go down as the greatest president of all time, especially if he can get rid of income tax. And I don't, you know, he like they've been saying forever, he can cure cancer and they will find something to bitch about. But I'm not saying he's the savior, but he is the only one that I've ever seen in my lifetime creating so much chaos in a good way. I mean, like literally exposing all the fraud and not caring what the powers that be think, to the point where I'm surprised that they didn't succeed in assassinating him, except for when you think, well, maybe they're not really wanting to assassinate him. Maybe he's a part of it. Maybe he's, you know, then if you look at the other side, if you really go down the rabbit hole, you might say, well, you know, this is all part of the big plan. Trump is needed to get to this next level. Maybe so. But he's not talking or acting as any Democrat politician wanting to create a one world government. He's talking about nationalism and its freedom and financial prosperity for all, property rights, getting rid of income tax, getting rid of property taxes, getting rid of all these things that would literally put USA back to where it was originally, the founding members originally wanted. But if all that happens, great. Will Israel and some other people benefit or get their way somehow, some way? Maybe that there's some loophole or something that's happening. Yeah, probably. I don't know. But I think that's been going on my entire lifetime as well. And there's not much we can do about it. All we can do is try to get rich along the way. regardless of who's in control and who's pulling the puppet strings, guys, the wealthy tend to be okay during all of this. So just try to get rich. But with that being said, yeah, it's looking like we could see maybe. Go ahead. If anybody has any questions.
They said that the oil, 70% of the oil was being bought by China, and now that also the China's not able to sell their drugs, you might see China collapse. So what would that happen to the market?
Yeah, I mean, it was a major strategic move, in my opinion, because if China got control of Venezuelan oil, that would be a major power move. By the way, BRICS, all of this stuff will fall because of this. All of it. The US dollar will be the dominant dollar again. Trump, say what you want. I mean, I can't see the negative yet at this point. Even the Venezuelan people are happy. I mean, there's some liberal Americans that are not happy. They're always in their comfy little comfort zone, sipping, their lattes, complaining how we're meddling in other countries' business, and we should leave these countries alone. But go tell that to the families that were starving to death in Venezuela because their leader literally is getting rich and not taking care of their own people. If you really know, I have some friends that live over there, and you don't even need those. You don't even need friends that live over there to know. All you got to do is look at all the posts from all the Venezuelans and all of the people in that country. And who's not happy? Cuba. Cuba's not happy. Why? Because 30-some soldiers got killed in that. They're blaming the U.S. government for killing their security and their soldiers. Well, guess who they were securing? Guess who they were helping? They were trying to defend their own interest in the drug trade. They were collateral damage because they're part of the problem. Not Cuban people, but the Cuban government. They're all in on it. The Bolivian government, the Bolivian president is all mad. Well, of course, Bolivia is the biggest producer of cocaine. Just go back and watch some reruns of Miami Vice back in the day. Bolivia. In fact, if you used to do cocaine back in the 70s, you wanted it to be from Bolivia. That was the purest stuff.
Yeah, I think it was the biggest.
Go ahead.
I think it was the biggest mistake when they closed Cuba's military base there, and I'm glad Trump just reopened it back up. So
yeah, there's a lot of changes happening. All these guys are scared now. The Colombian government's like, come get me. You're not so tough. Come talk to me man to man. I mean, all of these guys are going to go down if they keep trying to play tough guy. I mean, that's exactly what Maduro said right the night before. By the way, this happened. They went and got Maduro hours after he was meeting with Chinese leaders. Hours. They were all there. The Chinese leaders were still in the country when this happened. Anyway, with that, I'm reason I'm bringing this up is not for political reasons, but just to understand how markets move because of these things that happen around the world and what we have to pay attention to. Bitcoin and crypto is the new asset class. Crypto, XRP is not even going to be considered an asset. XRP is going to go up in value because of its use case. Bitcoin and things like that will be a reserve hedge against inflation. They will make probably Bitcoin a US dollar reserve, kind of like the gold standard, but the Bitcoin gold, the digital gold standard, and possibly gold as well. Both. Crypto, the US dollar could be backed by Bitcoin, and Bitcoin could be backed by gold. But it's happening. But during this whole time that this happens, we have huge swings. We have huge fluctuations, huge ups and downs. The bull and bear market cycles may be over. I don't know. I will know we will know here soon. We will know here soon, because this right here, down here on the weekly time frame, it depends on how high this gets. It depends on how high this gets. If we cross back above the floor here on the RSI, you can just go back in history and look every time we come to the floor and bounce and come back up. It is a higher high on the price. Bounce on the floor, that's the low. Bounce all the way up to the top, that's the high. Bounce down, this was below the floor, and we have not got back above it yet, you can see. And the only other time that has happened where we got below the floor, we did get back above it here. And that's when we came up for one last attempt at the RSI. And that's where we created the head and shoulders right before going in the bear market. If we come back above it here, that would be equivalent to this. Coming back up one more time, crossing the EMA ribbon one more time. And we would have to get above this and literally make a higher high. That would be like this, going up and breaking to a new high. But here, we would have to get above this. And if we do get above this, we will see a pump above the EMA ribbon, just like we did here. But where to? Maybe to 105, maybe just to 100. And if we come back down below it, guys, then I'm afraid. And if this hits here and we can't get above that, and we cannot make a higher high, and we can't get back above this dotted line on the RSI up here and make a higher high, then it's bear market time. That's all. That's my opinion. And it's not personal. It's not emotional. It's just what it is. It just is what it is, in my opinion. And I'm okay either way. If that happens, we will be shorting the hell out of it. And I'm going to be shorting some stocks too. I'm going to be shorting the options. I'm going to put some puts in and try to make a ridiculous amount of money in the stock market as well, because everything will go down. We are due for a crash unless there's some miraculous thing that happens, which this time could be different and something miraculous could happen. The Clarity Act, the big switcheroo, everything turns over. Trump does some miraculous thing, and this whole thing works out and pans out perfect. And I have a feeling it's not over with Trump. I mean, some big things are going to come out here soon with the Dominion voting scandal, and a lot of politicians. I mean, it's one thing to find all this fraud everywhere, but if none of these people are held accountable, then that's dumb, right? Pam Bondi, all these people are trying to indict all of these people, but eventually something's got to happen to them. Elon Omar and all these people got to go. But that's all political stuff. There's people out there saying, well, I mean, Trump, our income is not, people are still struggling. I don't know why anybody ever expects any president ever to save you. They don't. It never happens. It never has happened. Nothing makes you more money when a new president comes in office, no matter who they are. They don't make you money. Money comes from you either exchanging your time for dollars or you creating some kind of value to the world where you can make a profit from it. That's how money comes into your pocket, into your bank account, into your home, into your family. It doesn't come from politicians. It doesn't come from laws. It doesn't come from anything like that, unless you are a government hireling servant, meaning you work for the government and you're on the government's payroll, or you're a Section 8 recipient, meaning you depend on the government for your livelihood, one way, shape, or another. The government can go away. They can literally close the government and it won't affect me personally, because I don't need the government to make money. In fact, the government gets in the way of everything. The government makes things difficult for everybody. Laws and rules and, ordinances and licenses and compliance and all this shit. Who are they? Who are they to tell you? When you want to go catch a fish from the ocean that nobody owns, you got to go get a permit. from somewhere, the DMV, the licensing office. You got to get a fishing license. Well, go look up what that means. You're basically just asking for permission. That's what a license is. And when you go into the office, who are you talking to? Are you talking to the president? No, you're talking to some government hireling servants who get paid $16 an hour, $10 an hour, sitting there at the desk eating donuts, who knows nothing about how the world works, telling you, yes, you have to get a license. Otherwise, you're going to get fined. What's a fine? Let's just look at the reality of the situation. What is a fine? A fine is not even a criminal offense. A fine just means that you just have to pay to do the things that you're not supposed to do. Rich people pay fines all the time. You want to park your yacht in the wrong part of the marina? They can fine you up to $200 a day. But if you're rich, who cares? Leave it wherever you want. Pay the fine. You want to park your Bugatti in a no parking zone? You're going to get a fine. Okay, but it's okay if you can afford the fine. You guys remember when you remember when that huge waste company was taking all the garbage in New York, Manhattan or somewhere, I can't remember exactly what it was, and they were loading it up on these giant ships, these giant like barges, and taking it out into the ocean and dumping it. This was like 10 years ago. I don't know if you remember this. It was disgusting. All the garbage was washing up on the beaches, needles and medical equipment washing up on the beaches in New York and all these different areas up there. And people were wondering, where's all this garbage from? Well, the company that was doing it was getting fined like $10,000 a day. But they kept doing it because they were making $100,000 a day doing it. So they just paid the fines. And as long as Donald Trump got fined, I think it was thousands of dollars a day. I can't remember what it was when he I can't remember where it was either. Somebody might correct me if you know the story, but he had a flagpole or something. He had a flagpole on one of his properties. And they said they fined him because they said the flagpole was too tall. It had to only be a certain amount of height. And he got fined. Was that Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. So what did he do? He paid the fine. But then eventually what he did is he built the mound or something. I can't remember the exact story, but it was ingenious, where he just made the ground higher so that the pole was low enough to fit the criteria of what the flagpole height should be. So
yeah, he built a mound so the flagpole could still be at the same altitude, but at the correct height.
Yeah. Guys, this is just thinking outside of the box is all it is. It's really funny so when you really think about it. But did he care? No, he just paid the fine until he came up with a solution. He didn't care. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that all these rules that we have as regular people are so scared to break the rules and do everything. But fines are, I don't even know what I was talking about before I got on this tangent. But the point is that it's all bullshit, guys. And we as citizens worry so much about all these little things. And like people worry about taxes and people worry about, oh, should I do this? Should I set up this entity? Should I do this? How about just make money and stop worrying so much? I mean, you can solve a lot of problems that you think you have with money. And you can always go pay, like even the IRS. You have a payment plan with the IRS? Okay, yeah, they're going to charge you interest and penalties and all that stuff. And you will end up paying a lot more than you owe over time if you do that. But let me just look at it this way. If I owe the IRS 100 grand and I pay them all right now to avoid any kind of interest or fines, then now they have my 100,000 and I don't anymore. But instead, I take that 100,000 and I 10x it or 100x it, but I'm only paying them 6% or 5% per year interest and penalties, then I'm still in the green. It's called arbitrage. Like my accountant was trying to tell me, oh yeah, but Nico, if you pay now, you're not going to pay all this interest. I said, well, how much is the interest? 5% a year. That's a huge amount. I'm like, that's not that big. I can make more than that with the money. Well, if you're confident, if you think you can make more with the money and you're okay with paying that, that's like throwing money away. Like my accountant didn't even understand. It's not throwing money away if the money can be made turned into more money in my hands than giving it to the IRS. Kind of like buying a house. I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a good investment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying your house or owning a house, but it's not a asset. It's a liability. Because if you tie up 20%, 30% in a down payment, or you pay cash for it just so you don't have any bills, a lot of people feel good that way. They feel good knowing they don't have any mortgage payment. But you have all this equity tied up. Now, is the house going up in value over time? Yeah, that's questionable. You might think it is, but really what's happening is the value of the dollar is going down in purchasing power over time to the rate of 10% per year. So you think your house is going up 10% per year in value. But what could you have done with all that money had you not bought the house to turn it into 80, 90, 100% per year and just rent the house? Well, you never own it. I like to own things. You don't own it anyway. Most people, even when you buy a house, you don't live in it for more than 7 years at a time. That's the average. Now, if it really is your dream home and you're going to be there forever and you know it, then sure, why not? And especially if you got the capital to do it. But I would still finance the hell out of it and get a mortgage as long-term as possible and pay the minimum payment. Yes, you're going to pay a lot more interest over time. I get it. I understand that. But I'd rather have the money because, I don't know, let's just use XRP, for example. Let's say XRP goes up 100x. Okay. And you got $100,000. Instead of paying down your mortgage and tying that $100,000 up in equity in your house that's just sitting there not being used, you can turn it into, I don't know, $10 million. So this is just thinking differently. Not everybody likes that idea. Like some people don't want any debt whatsoever. Debt is stupid. Debt is bad. But it's really the only way for you can get ahead in life is to leverage OPM, other people's money, the banks, the lenders. Then they want to lend. They would prefer you borrow.
Yeah,
Not only that,
Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the guy.
yeah, he talks about that as well. I mean, everybody I know
Hey,
is
Nico?
super rich. Yes, go ahead.
Marcus Lemonis was also fined for his flags at his RV dealerships. I think he has 60 by 100s, and he said, "I don't care. I'll pay the fine as long as it takes." Two, allodial title is the only thing that would give you true ownership of property in the U.S., and the U.S. purposely does not allow allodial title, so you'll never own it. Without allodial title, they're able to take your property either from eminent domain or non-payment of taxes, et cetera, et cetera. With the election, if you look back going to Bush, there was basically about the same number of votes each time, with the exception of 20 million that appeared for Biden's election and then disappeared again after that.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it is true. Allodial title. You can totally exit the system if you guys want to. I mean, there's people in this group that have done that. I'm not going to name names because they like to stay private, but you can legally opt out of everything if you want to. And a lot of people are worried to do that because, well, don't you give up citizenship? Yeah, but you don't give up sovereignship. You don't give up sovereignty. If you were born in the United States, you are entitled to that. As soon as you start paying taxes, guys, as soon as you agree to the tax code and you file your taxes for the first time and agree to the terms and all that stuff, you're basically giving up your right to sovereignty. You're kind of joining that's a whole nother topic, guys. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but
Hey, Nico, what you're saying there is absolutely true. However, the key to it is that the word sovereignty was created by the CIA. It's used to label people that have realized that the system's fucked up and that we weren't, the founding fathers weren't U.S. citizens, and they were state citizens. And so, actually, a good friend of mine and I, we just wrote a book called "What Does It Mean to Be an American?" It's on Amazon, and it talks about the difference between a U.S. citizenship and state citizenship, and how to unwield yourself from the contracts that you didn't realize you got into. So there's a lot of truth to that, and there's a lot of truth to living free and living private.
Absolutely. I love the idea of it. 30 years ago, I was working for a company called Global Prosperity Group, and I was like an MC. I invited people to the seminars that they had, and the seminars were always held outside of the United States, Bahamas, Mexico, Aruba, Bermuda, always in beautiful resorts and great travel or vacation destinations. And people flew from around the world to come to these seminars. The reason why they were held offshore or overseas is because the speakers that were speaking were banned from speaking about their topics in the US. They were all authors of books that were on the banned book list, and they were not allowed to talk about what they talked about in the US. And it was quite a time, and we had a great time. I mean, that's when I met David Icke for the first time. He was one of the speakers, if you guys know who he is. But crazy. Some of the things we learned because the speakers were allowed to speak freely on at these events, and the things that are going on around the world. I mean, I would come back from these events, and my family thought I was crazy when I was talking about things that they never heard of, and they just thought, "Man, you lost your mind." And I thought I was losing my mind because I couldn't believe what was really going on around the world. But at the same time, guys, it's all true. I think I mentioned this on a previous call. Whereas if you fly internationally, you're going to see things on the planes in the behind the seat in front of you. You know how they have the books and stuff, and the catalogs and things you can buy and order sometimes. In the US, you don't see these, but when you fly internationally, you see them, and there are ads in these magazines for opening up Swiss bank accounts, offshore investment opportunities. All of that you will see on international flights. You will never see it in domestic flights because there are things that cannot be shared or exposed or offered to the US citizens on US soil. Very similarly to decentralized finance. This is why you have a firewall or a block when you go to register or open up an account on some decentralized platforms because they do not comply with US regulations. But when you get around that, guys, you can do things that you cannot do normally. And you have much more opportunity in other parts of the world. A lot of people are scared of other countries. They think, oh, well, it's not regulated, and I wouldn't do it because that's not safe. Regulation just means you're being regulated. That means you are being suppressed, controlled, and not allowed to do what the rest of the world can do, like some people, like other things that are available around the world. And so the more you understand that, the more you realize, well, why? Why are they doing that? Well, they're trying to protect you from yourself, basically. They think you're not smart enough to handle these sophisticated investment vehicles. So there's too much risk involved. So let's just make it so that they can't even get access to it. And that's really kind of what it is. We are in a bubble here in the US. We don't really know what's going on around the world, most people. And most people in the US never even left their state, let alone the country. So with all that being said, let's look at
Before we do that, Nico, may I ask for some clarity on the Clarity Act? Does it actually provide the framework and the rules for it so that it can be implemented right away, or is it only does it only provide the guardrails that will require?
I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
We lost him. Who was that talking? Who was just asking about the Clarity Act?
Onegas, I think was his last name.
Well, the Clarity Act. Here, I'm going to pull this up and show you guys. Formerly known as the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act of 2025, aims to establish a regulatory framework for digital commodities in the U.S. by defining the roles of the Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Commodities Future Trading Commissions, the CFTC, in overseeing these assets. It seeks to resolve regulatory uncertainty and create a clear compliance pathway for businesses involved in digital assets. Businesses. It was passed, I believe, in April. So we're not waiting for it to pass, but we're waiting for it to actually be enacted. And I think that was supposed to happen during the government shutdown back in whenever that was, November or something, August, September, October.
It's sitting at the Senate.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
It's the bill is sitting at the Senate and is being revised.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just being revised. They're coming to terms with what they've agreed on. The Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, commonly known as the Clarity Act, aims to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework. I think I just went over that. Key provisions: CTFC authority. The act designates the CFTC as the primary regulator for digital commodities, which are defined as blockchain-based assets. This is big, guys, because this is the first time in history that really all the banks, all the financial institutions, all the stock markets of the world, the S&P 500, the New York Stock Exchange, all of the hedge funds, all of the ETFs, all the asset classes, all the derivatives markets, everything is switching over. I mean, you've seen Ray Dalio and all of these guys. These guys running $1 trillion, multi-billion, $100 billion hedge funds that do trillions of dollars a day in transactions. Trillions. Like, you think Bitcoin, the volume of Bitcoin, what is it? $2 trillion market cap is nothing. It's nothing compared to the amount of money moving around the world every day. And all of this is going to be digitized. It's all going
Right there,
the blockchain.
right there at the bottom. Right there at the bottom says current status. Right there.
As of January 2026, Clarity Act has passed the House and is under consideration in the Senate, where it may undergo further amendments. The act represents a significant step forward towards integrating digital assets into the traditional financial systems while providing clarity and legal certainty for market participants. So that's kind of where we're at. It's going to happen, I think, on the 15th, which is like another week. And so this is why this time can be different. This is why we could get this big surge. This is why we could get above this. It's all possible that this time is totally different and we could have a huge pump to the upside because of all this. That's when people feel good about crypto, when people feel empowered, excited, and confident that things are moving in that direction. That's when billions pour in. But here's the thing, guys, billions are getting ready to pour in from the institutions. They're already set and ready. When you see these big moves in the market, it's not the retail market. It's not us. It's not the little fish out there that are buying Bitcoin or XRP that's causing the market to pump. It's billions pouring in from institutions, ETFs, hedge funds, governments. That's what moves the market. And guess what that does? That's a catalyst for the retail market. That lets us know, oh shit. I mean, it's just like this image I posted in our, this is it right here, guys. It's so obvious, and this is the way it is. This is what we see all the time right here. When the price is low, people are scared. This is us buying it at $1.80. People who know. 2026 gets up to about 230. This is just an example, but it's the same thing for Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else. Doesn't matter. I got this same image a couple of years ago for Bitcoin. The price goes up, people get in line. When it gets to $100, the masses buy in because now they see it's real. Just like when Bitcoin was hitting 100,000, we had more people buying, more people interested in crypto, more people wanting to learn. Now that it was hitting these milestone highs, the same people that didn't want to buy at $1,200, they didn't want to buy at $5,000. They thought, oh, it's too late now. Then it goes to $10,000 for Bitcoin. Oh, it's definitely too late. I should have bought at 5,000. Then it goes to 25,000. Shit, I should have bought at 10,000. Finally, when it gets to 75, 80, 90, 100,000, they're buying. Dumbest shit in the world. But this is human nature. We're smart enough, hopefully, to be down here in this zone and getting ahead of it. Like we've been talking about in this group for a year now, is basically front running the government and the institutions, being able to get in before the masses. Because this is going to happen, guys. This is going to happen. And right now, this is the price. This was the price last week. Could this price go down back down to this price? Yes. It's possible, yes. Of course. Buy more. Same with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin drops down to 30, 40, 50 grand, I'm going to have a couple more Bitcoins by then. This is Bitcoin. All it's doing is coming down to previous major resistance. It ran up, hit major resistance at the 95K. Broke the upward trending support. Great short. Chad called a nice short in here. Caught it. I was long from down here on Bitcoin and XRP. This was a great short. I did close the position. I didn't short though, but it is a good short because I have a feeling that we might not be done with this run up. This is Bitcoin right now. This is that resistance level I was just talking about. It goes all the way back. And because of what I was just talking about with the RSI and stochastic RSI, I have a feeling we could come all the way back down to right here, 88, 90. We could, but I think that this is the bounce right here on this major resistance. It's getting there right now. And well, we need to in order for this to come back up there and get to that max pain point of 96 and maybe even back up here into the 100 to 107 range. And even if we don't get higher than that, guys, and that just turns into a giant head and shoulders, then we'll at least know that the bull market's over up here somewhere.
Nico,
Yeah.
can you explain that max pain point at 96K?
Yeah, I posted this a little while ago. This was back in a couple of weeks, a week ago, right here. This was because of the Bitcoin options expiry. This was the biggest expiration of Bitcoin options in the stock market in history, right here, 23 billion. Okay. Now, generally speaking, when this happens, there is a unwinding, there is a little bit, this is also happening at the exact same time as the Japanese reverse carry trade, but options expired today. That was Friday the 26th. The fallout will be over the coming few days. Max pain at 96K, meaning the calls and the puts, that's the longs and the shorts in the options world in the stock market. The calls are clustered at 100 to 120. The puts are concentrated around 85K. Max pain is in the middle. It's at 96K. Okay, so what does that mean? That just means that the current price was up here. The liquidation, let me just go back over here and show you. Well, this is too late now because it's already happened, but let me go to Bitcoin. We have some liquidity both above and below. So we might dip down a little bit more right here. This is what I was just saying. We might come down a little bit more to the 90K zone before bouncing. That would be like coming down to this level right here that we're at. Somewhere in this zone. I have a feeling we'll take out the liquidity here and bounce. That was major resistance going all the way back to, a month ago, over a month of resistance. It was also support back here and support and resistance going all the way back to, November. But we came up and hit the major resistance level right here, and which was previous support. And if we go back far enough, guys, it was resistance, support, support and resistance going all the way back to last year. And all we did was hit it and bounce. And we're coming back to retest this level. If we break through this, then yeah, we can come down right to this upward trending support back in the 88 zone, which is where we were, somewhere before. I don't really think that's going to happen, but it could. But if it does, see, the thing is with when I say something like what I'm saying right now, guys, I don't really care if that happens. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, then it's just going to confirm the fact that we don't have enough buying pressure to get back up to these levels. And we possibly are now it's time to go. We're going to have a downward trend for a while. We could see lower lows. But to me, I'm not so sure that that's going to happen first. I think we can have another run up, very similar to what happened back in 2021. Like I was just showing you on the other chart. Back here, we broke out of the downward trending falling wedge. We pump above the EMA. We didn't hold back here. And that was a lower high. And that was the beginning of the bear market. But we're doing the same thing here. We're breaking out. We broke out of the downward falling wedge. We're coming up to the EMA. If we pump through it, where it's going to bring us up to about 100K, possibly up to that resistance level I was just talking about at 107, 108. And if we cannot hold above that, it's going to look like this. Boom. It's going to be equal to the shoulder on the left side. It's going to be a nice head and shoulder, and that will probably be the beginning of the end. If we can't get above this and make a higher high on the RSI, we will have a continuation of bearish divergence. This might pump up, but if this can't get all the way to the top and this can't get above that, then this is just going to go up a little bit and come back down, and that'll be it. And we're okay either way because we can short that when that happens. I just don't think now is the time to short. I mean, the short from the pump was good. Yes. I believe that was a great call. That was a great short. But to stay in that, I don't know. If we bounce on the 90 and start to climb, I wouldn't stay in that, me personally. But yeah, it's yet to be seen. So that's what we're doing. We're watching that, and I am. And then when I go and look at XRP, this is going to be the time when possibly XRP decouples. It's possible. And we have an altcoin season. If Bitcoin can't make its higher high, even if we do this big pump and Bitcoin gets up to 107, XRP could get up to 250. Let's just go look. Where would XRP hit? But as you can see, I closed my XRP short. I mean, my XRP long took 109%, 849 XRP off the table there. And I don't mind scalping for 1,000 XRP every time. I mean, to me, 1,000 XRP is $1 million. Every time I make 1,000 XRP, to me, it's $1 million somewhere in the future. That's the way I look at it. Because I think XRP will get to $1,000 someday. I don't know how long. But 1,000 XRP is $1 million. So every time I get 1,000 XRP, I sock it away. And XRP is doing something very similar. I told you about all these little areas that we got through: resistance, support, breakthrough, support, resistance, support, breakthrough, support, resistance. It's kind of just stair-stepping its way down now. Before, it was stair-stepping its way up. Resistance, breakthrough, support, resistance, breakthrough, all the way back down to support. This level is a major support and resistance level. If Bitcoin does what I was just saying, that XRP could probably pump all the way back up. And where would we go after we break through this level? Well, the next level up is somewhere in this level. Where we have resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance. That would be the $2.50 range, $2.53 on XRP. After that, support, resistance, $2.70 range. This is just, to me, this is just price action trading on the incremental support and resistance levels. I mean, not everybody trades this way. Not everybody needs to have this many I mean, some people, even Chad, I think, looks at a much higher time frame and just, looks at some of these higher levels. But I'm even looking at it on the micro levels here, all these different little increments, because it seems to always hit them. So we've got a green candle right now in the 4 hour. Let's go down to a lower time frame and see what it looks like. And we're holding support right now. Could it fall through? Yeah, it could. I have 23,000 contracts on a long that I just entered after closing out my XRP and taking XRP profits. I'm kind of counting on the bounce here because this was a major support and resistance level going back quite a ways. I changed the color of that so we can see it. Even this big drop, guys, remember when we dropped on October 10th on XRP all the way down to $1.25? Let me just spread this out, because this, when we came all the way down to $1.25 and bounced all the way back up, we retested right here and held support.
Hey, Nico, I had a question on like price appreciation and banks allowing borrowers. Hey, can you guys?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, man. So looking forward to price appreciation on XRP. Love what's going on there. So, for folks that are looking to not have a taxable event, borrow against it for whatever, cash flow and business opportunities or real estate. How do you see that evolving? Like, I know there's a lot of like major, like Coinbase allows you to borrow now, but more reputable banks coming on board. Like, how do you kind of see that if it goes to 200, 500, or, in the next 5 years?
How do I see XRP in the next 5 years?
How do you see the banks allowing you to borrow against it evolving?
How I see that. Yeah. I mean, it's already happening right now, guys. There's a handful of banks. I think I even posted that not that long ago. It's already happening. There's financial institutions, there's banks that are all getting lined up to be custodians. Here's some major US banks issuing credit right now against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just one of many that are going to be coming down the line that are going to be considered major value-based cryptocurrencies. And XRP, Ethereum, Solana, probably be able to borrow against any of them, but this is right now already. Then you got all of the centralized crypto exchanges, Coinbase being the major one. Right now, you can borrow against your Bitcoin and Ethereum, or Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can also stake USDT, USDC, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all kinds of things on Coinbase right now for a dividend. Banks don't lend on assets they think are going to zero. So Solana partnering with XRP, they need XRP, they need the Ripple network, guys. The one cool thing about XRP is that regardless of whether you want to transfer Bitcoin or any other crypto, even Bitcoin, the slowest one, the one that has the most cumbersome blockchain that takes the longest to clear, if you just send it on the Bitcoin blockchain, it takes 10, 15, 20 minutes to hit your receiving end. But if you send it on the Ripple network, which apparently it can do, on certain platforms, it's instant. So all of these other cryptos can rely on XRP and the Ripple network to make the transactions happen faster. But I see it happening for sure. Major institutions, you got Chase Bank right now, which is a partner with Coinbase. They have, what is it? Morgan Stanley. They're in on, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the different hedge funds that have Bitcoin ETFs and now XRP ETFs, Ethereum ETFs, probably Solana ETFs on the way. They're all going to allow. Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, they're all realizing the mistake they made 10 years ago when Coinbase became a thing and billions of dollars were leaving bank accounts trying to buy Bitcoin, trying to buy crypto. And they saw the transactions. They even tried to stop some of them. Some of you might remember. They tried to stop you from buying on Coinbase until they got their agreements worked out and their partnerships worked out. Now it's okay. Now you can buy from Chase Bank. You can buy on Coinbase, send it back and forth anytime you want. No problem. Wells Fargo might still have an issue with crypto.com, but they don't have a problem with Coinbase. Coinbase is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. So generally speaking, once they did all that, they became compliant with all the world banks. And now they have, the banks can see everything on the ledger. So they understand what's going on now. But what the mistake that they made is that they could have offered all the same things that Coinbase were offering, meaning you can have your checking account, your savings account, and your Bitcoin wallet and your XRP wallet and your, a half a dozen or a dozen top cryptos, the top 10 or whatever, just like PayPal. PayPal was one of the first to start doing that. Now you got Cash App and Venmo, I think, several of them doing it, right? So all the banks are going to do it where you're going to be able to have your checking account, your savings account, your debit cards, your credit cards, and your crypto wallets. And if you have Bitcoin, they're going to give you the same. Right now, if you have a Chase Bank account, don't they offer you all kinds of incentives to deposit more money or to take loans or to get a mortgage? If you're in good standing with the bank, they're offering you all kinds of things all the time. Apply for this credit card. You're pre-approved for this no low interest card. If you just open up this checking account instead of this one, you're going to get free checking. And if you put this much in there, you're going to get a $3,000 bonus just for depositing this much money. They do this all the time right now. Pretty soon, it's going to be, do you need to buy a house? You want to buy a car? Borrow against your Bitcoin. Borrow against your XRP. It's coming. 5 years, probably sooner than the next 5 years. And the cool thing about that is, regardless of whether you like banks or not, or regardless of whether you like to be in the centralized exchanges or not, is that it'll be compliant and qualify you for the asset. In other words, you'll be able to borrow and get loans and buy real estate, just like real estate right now. When you want to buy an apartment building or a house, the bank will loan against it, and they will carry a mortgage on it for a period of time. They charge interest and all that stuff. Usually pretty low. Now, let's say that they're loaning you against your Bitcoin. You got $1 million of Bitcoin. You want to borrow $400,000. That's tax-free loan proceeds. They just deposit into your checking account. But now what do? Is they collateralize 400,000 of your Bitcoin, which means it's being held in custodialship, which means it's still yours. You still see your account balance, just like on Coinbase. You still see the total amount of your Bitcoin. And then they have a different ledger showing how much you borrowed and how much of your Bitcoin is actually available to you to move around, to sell, to do whatever. But the amount that you borrowed is being held until you pay back the loan. And if you're paying 6, 7%, 8% interest on the loan, but meanwhile, your Bitcoin's going up on average 50, 60, 70, 80% per year in value, that's an arbitrage. You can pay back the loan with the increased value of the asset they're holding as collateral, or you just wait for the collateral asset, which is the Bitcoin, to go up another $1 million or $2 million in value and just borrow more. You don't have to ever pay back the loan. You just keep borrowing because that's what they want you to do. They want you to be in a never-ending payment situation with them. And that's okay as long as there's an arbitrage, as long as the payment and the interest that you're paying for the money is less than what you're earning on the asset they're holding as collateral. And you
Yeah,
should be
Nico,
okay.
the one thing about that though is like a couple of years ago, I used Nexo and they have a credit wallet. You literally just in seconds put it on the credit wallet. You can take a loan against it if you want. So I used some of their leverage. 20,000 turned into literally almost $500,000. But when markets started turning, if you don't keep an eye on it, they'll take automatic payments and start selling your crypto. So
That's right.
so
Yeah, they'll
you have-
liquidate the asset as collateral if the value goes down too quick. And that's what happened with Nexo. That's what happened to a lot of people in Nexo, because they were allowing you to borrow up to 60% against your Bitcoin. And that was a mistake that they didn't anticipate. Bitcoin was going to drop 50% in value. In the last bull market, it dropped, from 68K all the way down to 15.5, and a lot of people got liquidated. Now they've learned their lessons. They don't loan that much anymore. They loan maybe tops 30%, 20 to 30%. So that way you're not going to get in that problem again. But just don't overextend yourself, guys. Don't borrow more than you can afford to repay or that you think will have a problem. But the good news is that if they do, let's say you did borrow 50% and the market dropped 50% value, they would just collateralize the amount that they loaned you and take it back out of the Bitcoin that you have being held as collateral. So you still walk with the money. You still got the money. They just took your Bitcoin in exchange for it at that point. And you didn't pay taxes on it either. Whereas if you would have sold Bitcoin instead, when it was dropped, let's say you didn't have the loan and Bitcoin dropped 50% value and you got scared and sold what you had left to prevent yourself from losing more money, you would have a capital gains tax on that. So it's still probably a better situation to be in, but just, don't borrow too much against anything. Just like real estate, you don't want to over leverage yourself. If the property is worth $5 million, 10 unit apartment building, and you have, 8 million in equity, the banks generally are not only going to loan you up to 70% of the current market value. They're not going to loan you 100%. If you somehow can borrow 100%, that's a mistake on your part. You got to leave a cushion. All right, guys, let's see. Looking at some of these questions here. I see a lot of comments from what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, the government's out of control. Here in Canada, accounts were frozen during the trucker convoy to anyone supporting it financially. That should tell you something there. That should tell you something. The fact that they could just take your money just because you're supporting something. The Canadian government, I mean, Trudeau, that was just so ridiculous when that was happening. I'm surprised there wasn't a mass exodus out of Canada. All right, guys. Any other questions? It looks like XRP could be dropping a little lower here. Maybe. Let's just see if we hold. We do have a little bit of a downward trending. This could be looked at as a little falling wedge as well. Let's just see what's happening here. But I have a feeling we're going to maybe come down to the $2.17 range here and kind of wind into this little apex right here and maybe break back out to the upside. If we do fall back below, the next support under that is 211. The next one after that is 203, right back down to where we started from before this big pump happened. And that is, of course, all possible, but it's all part of that big pump and dump. Let's look at we do have some liquidity here. Let's look at XRP and the liquidity heat map. $2.15, $2.17 range right down here. A lot of liquidity sitting up here though in the 240, 245 range as well. So we'll see. We'll see what comes over the rest of this week. It's the middle of the week. By the way, guys, today is Wednesday. And so for those of you who are relatively new or brand new, you definitely want to make sure you get on the basics call starting in 10 minutes with Bill. Bill has posted the link for that in not only the announcements channel right here, basics call 2 p.m. with Bill, but also in the trade chat right down here. Basics call with Bill. And also in the Zoom chat that we're on right now. Somewhere in here, I'm sure he has. There it is. Basics call. That's coming up.
I appreciate when you go into the conspiracies, by the way. I really enjoy it. And you're not wrong. You know what I mean? He has done a lot of good things for the country. He seems to be a nationalist overall, but I still think left wing, right wing, same bird. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't trust anybody, but
No.
if given the choice of the lesser of two evils, I think that he's definitely doing more for the country than any of the previous ones. But we'll see. We'll see what the turnout is from it all. I mean, can it be reversed?
Time will tell.
Is he going to go away? Is he going to be executed? Or is he going to flip one day and horns are going to grow out of his head and he's going to say, "Ha ha, I tricked you all"? I don't know. I don't think so. But again, with all that being said, I'm not one of the ones that just are so vocal on social media and just crawl into a corner and hope for the best and be outraged about everything that's going on. I am spending most of my time behind the scenes trying to make as much money as possible so that if and when the time comes, that even if bad things happen, guys, those people with the money have the options. That's all there is to it. I don't care during bad times, during economic downtimes, but I have not seen the US, the United States of America, become a communist socialist country in my lifetime, but I have also never seen it so close to trying to in my lifetime.
Yeah, California is awfully close.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like New York right now with this Mandini guy, I mean, he said something the other day that is exactly what some of the biggest communists have said throughout history. Believe it, and he believes it. And people actually support that shit. They don't even have an idea what they're supporting. I mean, the name Mandini could go down with the likes of Mussolini and some of the other ones, if he's allowed to continue.
Sounds like a one world to me.
Gene said, by the way, Venezuela has defaulted on many loans from the U.S. That's interesting that they've defaulted on many loans. They shouldn't. They should be wealthy. Of course, they're saying he went and bankrupted the country.
Yeah. And the only reason he even became the de facto president is because of the Dominion, rigged voting,
right?
But booths, and that's all.
Yeah, they owe ConocoPhillips like $10 billion.
Exxon too. There was a judgment by the judge.
70 to 90% of the public or the populace of Venezuela is Catholic too. So I looked that up to see if the Vatican had said anything, and the Vatican has been trying to keep us out of it on the front page. I wonder what they're doing on the back page.
With the debt that's owed, that is one hell of a collection agency that Trump sent in.
Right.
Which one, Alex?
Venezuela.
Oh yeah.
They owe us that much money. We sent them the collection agency.
The whole thing. The whole agency.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Well, we're about to wrap it up here. We've been on for 2 hours. I am any last minute questions? A great call to be on for those of you who are relatively new is the next call coming up right after this one. I know we've been on for a long time for 2 hours. Bill tends to be on for a while too, but it's really good for you to understand the basics, especially if you're just getting started here with this whole thing, because we are at a very unique time in history, and not only in the bull market, bear market structure and the bull market cycles that have historically happened over the last 10 years, but the possibility of that ending. And it is possible going into this year with the Clarity Act and all kinds of things that are happening, that we do have a super cycle. It is possible. Whether it does or not, I mean, we would need to see new highs on Bitcoin. We need to see the RSI and the stochastic RSI break out of bearish divergence. All of that is possible. It just needs to do that. That's all. And I'll be happy if it does. But if not, we'll just play it like we have throughout history and short the market. That's all. But right now, I think we're going to bounce here at the 215 range on XRP. And I think that's my personal opinion. If not, I'll let you know in the chat. I'll post in the signals channel. And as far as Bitcoin goes, everything's correlating still. Nothing's changing. Bitcoin's dropping, everything drops. Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. The only difference is XRP went up at a higher percentage during this pump than Bitcoin did. And, but yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's also bouncing at this level right here, which is the 90K. And if we look at the liquidity on Bitcoin, I got a little bit of more liquidity right there. Right here, boom, right at the 90K. So drop, take that out, bounce, come back up. That's what I think is going to happen, me personally. And I will let you know if I see any changes or if I give any signals. I am long again on XRP with 23,000 contracts, a little bit more than last time at 10x leverage, but I am currently negative about $200 or 90 XRP. I will not stay in a long here on XRP if it gets below 215. Let me just go back there and look. Yeah, if we get below the 215 rather, I'll probably reconsider this one and wait, because if we do come back down to this level, I'm going to definitely go long again. I'll definitely probably be buying more as well. I don't mind these little pullbacks. This is just uncertainty for the masses to shake all the weak hands out. But right now, guys, I think, look at this. We're still in kind of upward trending mode. Let me just look at this. We might have broke that, but let's see.
Hey, Nico, if you put a retracement on that, what is the retracement?
On the downside?
On the downside, yeah.
Probably $2.
As far as it being like a normal pullback.
Oh, right where it's at right now, about 216, 215. This line right here.
Okay. Are you putting a stop in?
As you can see here, once we broke out of here, we never retested this yet. So I don't have a stop right now. I'm watching, but if it goes below 215, it could wick down to 215. So I'm waiting to see if it pulls back up pretty quickly. You see these candles are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. To me, that's coming to an end. Yeah, I think we got some liquidity to take out there. Oh, also, I wanted to say, guys, before I wrap it up here, for those of you who are, but I'll let you know if I see that, but I'm thinking 215, we're going to bounce. That's me personally. If it doesn't and it comes below that, I mean, the next stop after that is 211. But I'll let you know what I think there. I'm not saying to get in a long right now. In fact, if you're not in a long right now, I'd wait for the bounce. I would wait for 215 and a bounce, and maybe even break out of this downward trending falling wedge, coming back up above here to 220, 221. That would be a safer bet, because it hasn't even retested this upward trending support line as resistance yet, which it probably will do up here somewhere. Also want to say, guys, next week I'm going to have Billy back on for the Optio. He's got some announcements, some good news. Kaivo is going to be eventually allowing you to buy and sell right on Kaivo. There's some other things he told me I can't remember, but he's going to come back on and talk about that. And also a lot of actually good news about some of the other acquisitions and things that could cause the price of Optio to pump here soon. So it'll probably be next Wednesday. I'll have him on next Wednesday or Friday. But in the meantime, I think the buy one, get one free is still working for those of you who are interested. But again, this is all risk. Just remember that. Optio, there's no for sure or guarantee on anything there. It's just that it is the only crypto that controls their own platform, controls their own. They're not on any other exchange other. They own the platform. They own the node. They own the node servers, and they own the Kaivo, the platforms and things like that. So no one can really control them. They own what's the other thing? The social media network that it's going to be prevalent on as well. So that's all good.
Parlor.
All right, guys, I got to run. Get on the basis call coming up right now. Lots of golden eggs. Yes, good, good. Yep. All right, guys, I'll keep you posted on that, exactly the date and time for that, but I'll also let you know in the chat if I see anything changing here. Have a great rest of your day. We are dropping a little bit, but again, I'm waiting to see if we bounce on the 215 for Ethereum. For XRP. I still believe XRP is going to go you know, $3, $4, $5 here soon, especially after the Clarity Act. So it's possible we get a drop down before that happens, but I'm not worried if that happens, because I think we're still going to pump. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the chat.